Okay, despite only about 5 running backs actually scoring points this season, I don't know why these guys are allergic to fantasy points. We're going to go through and rank our top 30 running backs rest of season. So yeah, these are not rankings to submit your week 3 starting lineups. These are rankings for who you want rest of year. But of course, before we dive into it, go down there, drop a like on this video. If you have a question, make sure you hit the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you're able to come to our live streams where I'm streaming every single day for 5 or more hours to answer your question. And if I can't get to it in a live stream, just make sure you go down there, go to the comment section and ask your question there. I'm going to be trying to answer at least 200 of those in the comment section on this video. And also, if you want to get the rest of our rest of season rankings, our top 150, our quarterbacks, our tight ends, our receivers, make sure you go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. On Underdog Fantasy, you can check out all these cool player props. You can get into drafts with us during the season. And when you use promo code FLOCK with the link in the description, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100, and you're going to get our rankings, which are essentially free with that deposit match. Make sure you deposit $10 on Underdog, link in the description, promo code FLOCK. Let's dive into this. Let's dive into Jonathan Taylor here at 1. With JT, I get it. Week 2, disgusting. Disgusting. I understand. You had no Michael Pittman. You had no Alec Pierce. Y'all know I was not even a Matt Ryan guy coming into the year. I said Matt Ryan wasn't going to be that much of an upgrade over Carson Wentz. We got 8 for it. But it's not like Matt Ryan's a complete dud here. This team is going to put points up on the board. This team is going to get better. What's crazy is they go up against the Chiefs this week. They're eventually going to be 0-2-1. But regardless, JT is JT. Very high floor, very high ceiling, as long as this offense can move the ball down the field, which I think they will be down the stretch. And now our next running back, someone else that's somewhat disappointing, Christian McCaffrey. I get it. Baker Mayfield needs to stop running around like a chicken with his head. If the pocket collapses, dump it off to someone named Christian McCaffrey. Hey, Baker, let me introduce you to CMC. Learn those 3 letters. That's all you need to know. Dump the ball off to Christian McCaffrey. Get this man some targets. I know the first 2 weeks have been slow. I'm not going to be panicking on Christian McCaffrey, though. And now our next tier down, we're going to have Saquon Barkley at 3. With Saquon Barkley down week 2, but he had the exact role we're looking for. This is a running back that is essentially the top receiving option in his offense. He's a running back getting every single touch out of the backfield. Very similar to Jonathan Taylor, very similar to Christian McCaffrey. We have questions of how productive this team is going to be overall. But Saquon Barkley looks like he's healthy. Looks like we have the role that he wants. So I think we will put him at 3. And then our next guy is going to be DeAndre Swift at 4. DeAndre Swift is one of those very few running backs that have been putting up points for you so far this season. With DeAndre Swift, obviously the target's going to come down a bit. I mean, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, TJ Hawkinson, Jameson Williams later on in the year, DJ Chark, DeAndre Swift himself. Like, there are so many targets here in Detroit, but it's a very good offensive line. Swift's been great through the first 2 weeks. I know Jamal Williams has a role, but how many running backs are putting up points right now? I think we're going to go Joe Mixon here at 5. With Joe Mixon, not nearly as impressive week 2 as we wanted from a fantasy points total, but if we are looking at the opportunity, he's getting every single touch here. Samaje Perine has the smallest role you were ever going to see. Joe Mixon is that typical 3-down running back. I expect the Cincinnati Bengals to be significantly better going forward. Very excited about Joe Mixon. These are rankings for a PPR league. If you're not playing in a full PPR format, I would be willing to move Joe Mixon honestly above both Swift and Barkley. But for a PPR format, I think their usage in the receiving game does have them directly ahead of Mixon. Let's drop it down to our next tier where we are going to have Austin Ekeler at 6. With Ekeler, we talked about the serious red flags he had coming into the season. That this was never running back that the Chargers wanted to make that 3-down prototypical workhorse like Saquon Barkley, like Jonathan Taylor, like Joe Mixon. And we are going to see serious touchdown regression, not scoring 20 touchdowns again. We talked about the red flags. I mean, Austin Ekeler, one of my least drafted guys this season, mainly because on Underdog, we were taking Stephon Diggs over him. But regardless, if we are looking at Ekeler, I don't want to panic too much because while he has been very disappointing so far through the first 2 weeks, at the end of the day, he's a very good passing down running back in a very good offense. So even if he's in a committee, like who else are we going with? Are we ranking Dalvin Cook over him? Dalvin Cook's our next guy here. Dalvin Cook, very bad through the first 2 weeks. Week 1, he had the exact workload you were looking for. However, the issue was, with Dalvin Cook, he just didn't fall in the end zone, which is going to limit his fantasy production. Week 2, he had nothing. And the issue is you had Kirk Cousins on Monday night. Don't know if you know about Kirk Cousins, but apparently he's an okay quarterback if it is exactly 1 p.m. Eastern. But if it is any other time than 1 p.m. Eastern, he turns into a pumpkin. Like, it is obnoxious. With Dalvin, he still has the workload we want. I think Cousins is better going forward. So we'll have him here at 7. And then dropping down a tier, going over to someone else we weren't massive on coming into the season, Derrick Henry. He had his clear red flags, 28 years old, running back that doesn't catch passes, worst offensive line of his entire NFL career, and A.J. Brown being removed from this offense was going to hurt the overall efficiency in Tennessee. Now, I will say it's not like you have Derrick Henry as a running back that legitimately is not even a top 12 guy going forward. I know it looked disgusting against the Bills, but the Buffalo Bills have like the best defense in football. I know we have to be worried about Tennessee, clearly, but they're going to do better than scoring 7 points every single week. And our next running back, Nick Chubb here at 9. With Chubb, I know a lot of people are going to have him higher than this. I actually drafted Nick Chubb in a decent amount of leagues this year because he was going in the 3rd round in a half PPR format on Underdog. All about Nick Chubb at that price point. But I'll say in a full PPR league, he's still going to be a running back that while he's maybe the most talented committee running back in the NFL, which we always said, he's dealing with Kareem Hunt. He's not going to be targeted heavily out of the backfield. So in a PPR format, I think it's safe to have him here at 9. We were recording this before the Pittsburgh game, however. So maybe he goes up against Pittsburgh and he has 200 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns again. But in reality, what I'd expect is maybe he sees 18 touches. Kareem Hunt sees 14. We get 85 rushing yards for Nick Chubb, and you're hoping you get the rushing touchdown. Now, our next guy is going to be Javonte Williams at 10. Javonte Williams in the same tier as Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry. Love what we are seeing with Javonte Williams expanding his role this past week in Denver. Obviously, Denver hasn't looked great, but I think Russell Wilson is better going forward. Like, I understand the slow start with Russell Wilson here. He played in Seattle for a decade. A decade in Seattle. It makes sense on why maybe he's going to be a little bit slow when he goes to a new team. Now, dropping down a tier, we are going to go over to Leonard Fournette. I know everybody wants Aaron Jones. We'll get to him in a second. With Leonard Fournette here, this is a running back that has a much larger role than we expected while he's injured. Okay, because I thought Rachaad White was going to come through and Rachaad White was going to be used often on passing downs. And Tampa has nobody in the receiving game. Rachaad White still really isn't getting on the field too much. And that's with a hamstring injury for Leonard Fournette. Looks like Fournette's not going to miss any time. Looks like this offensive line is not nearly as good as it was a year ago, but it still doesn't matter in a PPR format with the level of volume Leonard Fournette's going to receive in the receiving game. Now, our next guy is going to be Najee Harris. Yes, I know, I get it. Najee Harris, horrendous against New England last week. Najee Harris, a very bad week 1 where he left the game against the Cincinnati Bengals early due to the ankle injury. With Najee Harris, a tough matchup going up against Cleveland Browns here. Like, it is reckless to be ranking Najee Harris as a top 12 running back still. I wasn't even a big Najee Harris guy coming into the season. We called him fancy David Montgomery. We said don't draft Najee Harris in the 1st if you can get David Montgomery in the 6th or the 7th. But if we are looking at Najee, he's still running back, seeing pretty much every single touch out of his backfield. He's still incredibly young. I'm not as worried about the Liz Frank as I know a lot of other people are. But the real concerns are there that we talked about coming into the season. Horrendous offensive line, very bad offense, lack of top-end athleticism and that top-end speed that we've always discussed. So I don't know. Let me know what you're thinking with Najee Harris. I think the volume alone maybe makes him a running back we need to rank here. Hopefully we get something good on Thursday night. Now, Alvin Kamara is going to be 13. Now, with Kamara, I know a lot of other people are panicking as well. And with Alvin Kamara, we've talked about this being the most target competition he has ever had. He's going up against Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, Chris Olave. Jameis isn't the best for Alvin Kamara, but he looks like he is healthy. He looks like he should be playing this week. And I know people want to panic on Alvin Kamara, but he has played 1 game. So let's pump the brakes on panicking. And now somebody that we have moved down our rankings dramatically, And I loved him coming into the season. Aaron Jones. I loved Aaron Jones coming into the year because we were looking at Davante Adams leaving Green Bay. And I was like, oh my gosh, just as a pass catcher alone, Aaron Jones is someone that we need to be ecstatic about. I was expecting that A.J. Dillon was not involved as a receiver. So I thought we were going to get 6, 7 receptions a game from Aaron Jones. I thought he was going to be the number 1 receiving option for the Green Bay Packers. Well, he has a massive game this past week. Massive game against the Chicago Bears. I get it. I know a lot of people are going to be screaming at me saying, Mason, you have to have Aaron Jones ranked higher. I hope that he does not finish this low. I hope that Aaron Jones does finish a lot higher than this. But as someone who owns him in too many leagues, I am worried about the role that we are seeing with A.J. Dillon. You knew A.J. Dillon was going to get touches. But the issue is A.J. Dillon is getting involved in the red zone. A.J. Dillon is getting involved as a pass catcher. A.J. Dillon has more touches than Aaron Jones. So I'm a big Aaron Jones fanboy, but if we could go through, sell him for Joe Mixon, dear God, I'm doing that in a heartbeat. With Jones, honestly, if I had him on my roster, I wouldn't sell him for Kamara. I wouldn't sell him for Najee. I wouldn't sell him for Leonard Fournette. You definitely need a lot more than that. I would sell him for anybody that's a tier above him. That's why I like making these videos as tier list. In reality, I think you can move Aaron Jones as high as running back 11. I really just want to put him here to illustrate the fact that I think he is going to be a sell high candidate. I really want you to go through and sell Aaron Jones for Javonte Williams or Joe Mixon right now. Now, our next guy in this list is going to be A.J. Dillon, someone we just got done talking about here. With A.J. Dillon, yes, he is a tier below Aaron Jones, but he is still a running back that I got to take my L on. I did not think he was going to get this involved. I did not think he was going to have this type of volume as a pass catcher in Green Bay, but it's here. I can't ignore it. Props to you if you drafted A.J. Dillon in round 5 or beyond. Like, I think A.J. Dillon's going to be an intriguing buy low candidate after the massive game we had with Aaron Jones this past week. But honestly, you may be able to wait until after this week as well, because it's going to be a very tough matchup against Tampa in week 3. So maybe you want to buy A.J. Dillon in week 4. But now our next guy is going to be James Conner, running back 16. With James Conner, very hard to rank him when we don't have too many details about the ankle injury. I know people are saying, oh, he may play Sunday. I'm not really expecting James Conner to play this week. I think that James Conner hopefully is a running back that you get back in week 4. But I think that once we get DeAndre Hopkins back in Arizona, that's going to be a much better offense overall. They should be able to move the ball down the field. And with James Conner, he's a running back that is consistently getting targeted out of the backfield. Now our next guy is going to be Clyde EdwardsAlaire at 17. With CEH, very similar to Aaron Jones in that I drafted him a lot coming into the season. With Clyde EdwardsAlaire, I'm happy with the price when we drafted him at when we were getting him in the 8th round on Underdog. But at the same time, I think he's a sell high candidate. If we go through and look at the opportunities, including targets and carries for the running backs in Kansas City so far this season, Clyde EdwardsAlaire has had 41% of the carries and targets at the running back position in Kansas City. Less than half, about 40% in general. So with CEH, I was excited thinking he could potentially be in a 2-man backfield in the best offense in the NFL. But in reality, it's not in that 2-man backfield. Instead, he's in a 3-man running back by committee. So I'm going to be a little bit more pessimistic on Clyde EdwardsAlaire as well. Love to go try to sell Clyde EdwardsAlaire for Najee Harris, Leonard Fournette, Alvin Kamara. Keep in mind, you haven't seen the Thursday night game though, so maybe I'm looking like an idiot right now. Now, our next running back is going to be Breece Hall, 18, dropping us down a tier. With Breece Hall, not someone you're starting anytime soon. But the long-term upside is there. He checks every single box that we are looking for. I think if you're a team that started off 2-0, this is the perfect guy to go get. Jonathan Taylor in 2020 didn't start off hot. Nick Chubb in 2018 didn't start off hot with his workload in particular. I think that Breece Hall only expands his role going forward. 9 targets in week 1. He's going to be a great pass catcher. Get Breece Hall on your team. If you're 0-2 and we need points right now, maybe we don't do it. But if you're 2-0, go get him. Now, J.K. Dobbins is also someone that I like the ceiling of long-term. It's very hard for me to rank him, though. I mean, with Dobbins, he practiced in full all week leading up until week 2. I was so excited to see J.K. Dobbins go ahead and play the Miami Dolphins. Maybe Baltimore could have done something. I don't know. He's practicing in full week 3 as well, but don't know if we're going to see him. I think we have to sit on our hands with Dobbins. Now, David Montgomery is going to be a running back 20 year. Would be way more excited about David Montgomery this week going up against the Texans, of course. I think Montgomery can actually expand his value from here. But in reality, he's going to be attached to one of the worst offenses in the NFL. Even if he gets a break this week going up against the Houston Texans, finally a team that the Chicago Bears can beat, it is what it is. I think that long-term you have to be concerned about the offense. And our last running back in this year is going to be James Robinson. Obviously a big-time riser here with James Robinson as, hell, he looks like the starting running back in Jacksonville. We'll get to Travis Etienne in a little bit, not too far behind. Now, drop it down a tier. We are going to have Antonio Gibson here. I know Gibson, for a lot of y'all, is going to be a lot higher than this because Antonio Gibson has finished a lot higher than this through the first 2 weeks. I mean, I think you could easily go and trade Antonio Gibson for Breece Hall right now in almost any league, and I am doing that in a heartbeat. And I understand Gibson's been great, but I'm expecting a couple things to happen here. I'm expecting that the overall volume in Washington goes down. I do not think this is a team that continues to score 30 points a game. I do not think this is a team that Carson Wentz continues to throw the ball for over 300 passing yards a game. And I spent all offseason trying to tell people that Wentz wasn't as bad as they thought and Matt Ryan wasn't as good as they thought. But anyway, I think the volume goes down in Washington. And also, Brian Robinson comes back in a few weeks. Now, with Brian Robinson coming back, I don't know if he's going to be the starting running back here. I would probably bet that he's not. But at the same time, with Brian Robinson, he doesn't need to be the starting running back to crush Antonio Gibson's value. If we expect the volume to come down in this offense and Brian Robinson to pick up an additional 6 to 8 touches per week, which isn't that many, but if Brian Robinson starts getting 7 touches a week in Washington, you're going to have Antonio Gibson in a touch squeeze and a declining offense competing for targets with J.D. McKissic, competing for red zone work with Brian Robinson. So I think Gibson's going to be a clear sell high candidate. And our next guy is going to be Kareem Hunt here, running back 23. With Hunt, I mean, we haven't watched Thursday, but if I had to guess, he sees about 14 touches. Hopefully he scores a touchdown, maybe 3 receptions, 30 receiving yards. Just mainly saying this so y'all can roast me in the comment section on Friday. But Travis Etienne coming out as our next running back 24. With Travis Etienne here, super disappointing. Obviously, a big-time faller when we're looking at the role, when we're looking at James Robinson being a healthy and effective running back. But at the same time, to be fair to Travis Etienne, he has played 2 games, and I repeat, 2 games so far in his NFL career. So maybe we cut the man a break. Now our next running back is going to be Ezekiel Elliott, 25. Another big-time faller. With Ezekiel Elliott here, this is a running back that, honestly, I don't know how to rank him. He looks like he is falling into a pure 50-50 backfield with Tony Pollard right now. Obviously, we have the upside long-term when Dak Prescott comes back. With this offensive line significantly worse, we talked about the red flags with Ezekiel Elliott coming into the season. We talked about why he didn't want to draft him. Literally, he has decreased his rushing yards per game every single season since his rookie year. Since 2016, every single season, Ezekiel Elliott has seen less rushing yards per game. Tough spot to be in. Now our next guy, Miles Sanders here, 26. With Miles Sanders, hot start. Love what you've had through the first 2 weeks. I think Philadelphia comes back down to earth a little bit. It also looks like he may be in a 3-man running back by committee with Kenneth Gainwell, with Boston Scott. I love the discount we are getting on Miles Sanders in drafts. Don't regret drafting him in the 8th, 9th round in a ton of leagues. But at the same time, I can't sit here and act like it's not a tough situation to be in when Jalen Hurts is taking rushing touchdowns, when Boston Scott and Kenneth Gainwell both have a role. And our last running back in this year is going to be Damien Pierce. Expect the Damien Pierce breakout this week. Expect the Damien Pierce breakout. Great matchup against the Chicago Bears. With Damien Pierce, I'm kind of viewing him as David Montgomery at least without the passing down role now. Of course, he can expand that passing down role, but I think he's going to be an okay running back in a very bad offense. But what makes him different than someone like David Montgomery, to me, is David Montgomery, we know he's going to catch passes, where we haven't seen that with Damien Pierce so far. Now let's drop it down a tier. Let's go over to Josh Jacobs, 28. It doesn't matter if Brandon Bolden's going down here in Las Vegas. This will still be a committee. It will still be a situation where Jacobs is the first and second down running back, and Amir Abdullah at that point is stepping up on 3rd down. So it's no longer in the range of outcomes for Jacobs to get back to the 4 receptions per game that we saw a year ago. You have to drop Josh Jacobs down as a running back that is a touchdown or bust option. Now our next guy, Cam Akers. We are going to have Cam Akers above Darrell Henderson because I think Cam Akers has more upside. I think Cam Akers is a more capable pass catcher overall. super wide range of outcomes with Cam Akers. Now, he may straight up be a backup running back in Los Angeles, but at the same time, it's a very good offense. I personally want to believe he's a very good running back. That player is going to be someone that's super hard to rank. And now Cordell Patterson, our last guy here. With Patterson, I mean, we talked about him being a guy we wanted to draft coming into the year. We talked about him then being a sell high candidate after week 1, just because you have to keep your expectations realistic with Cordell Patterson. He's always going to be in a committee here. He's going to have a good role in the passing game, and he's going to be in a bad offense. He's a 31-year-old running back. I think 30 is a fair spot to rank Patterson. But that's all I got for you. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you disagree with these, which you probably do, I want to hear your opinion. Go down in the comment section. Let me know what you think I got wrong. If you see someone that you agree with in the comment section, go and drop a like on their comment so I can kind of have a feeling of what y'all are saying. But of course, thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate you. Hope you have a great day. If you want to come out to our live stream, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell next to the subscribe button.